Now, the assertion by the administration of President Bola Tinubu that the economic reforms are beginning to yield results is being corroborated by global bodies. The executive board of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has concluded its 2025 Article 4 consultation with Nigeria, delivering a positive assessment of the country's fiscal and monetary policies. The IMF commended Nigeria's economic authorities to steps taken to restore macroeconomic stability and enhance resilience. In particular, the fund applauded efforts of the administration to strengthen the banking sector and acknowledged the ongoing foreign exchange reforms. Okay, I'll start with you, BK. I mean, is it safe to say that this commendation coming from IMF is a validation of President Bola Tinubu's economic direction?
Yes, but let me make it clear that they also talked about where we need to improve. So it's important that we highlight that.
Yes.
They demanded that the infrastructure deficit that we have as a country be addressed. They also demanded that insecurity be addressed. They demanded that we should do everything within our power to boost agri production. They also demanded improved health and education funding. As far as they are concerned, the economy needs to be strengthened and that there should be policy coordination and communication. We are very weak in the area of communicating government's plans.
Exactly. To the
policies. That's why many people will say that this government has not achieved anything. Exactly. Whoever says this government has not achieved anything is a liar from the pit of hell. And IMF was very clear in terms of what it has identified as the gains of the policy, economic reform that this government has come up with. The IMF heaped praise on the government for those structural reforms that they described as bold and politically difficult, which in their view have enhanced the macroeconomic stability of our country and its resilience. They also talked about the CBN, the independence of the CBN. The CBN can come up with reforms that have helped to reverse years of economic volatility and restore financial discipline in the sector. So this, in the view of the IMF, has also helped to bolster investor confidence. And this investor confidence has proved to be very, very profitable to us in terms of what has come to our country. Because the CBN, in the opinion of the IMF, has addressed the problem of ways and means. These ways and means, which is an emergency funding channel, according to the CBN, according to the IMF, the CBN has reduced it by more than 90%. So you can imagine what we have. We were simply printing money in those days. The IMF is saying now that the CBN has been able to reduce that by 90%. You know, such borrowings were even above the statutory limit back then.
Yes.
But that is not happening now. So they also said that the CBN has been able to achieve relatively price stability. And we are seeing inflation drop from 40% to 22.9%. You cannot say that this is not significant. They also talked about the gap between the parallel and the official market. It has now been reduced to 3% instead of the 60% that we had before President Tinubu took over. And one last thing that I want to talk about, which the IMF also admitted to, is that the administration, due to its financial discipline and the independence that it has given the CBN, has been able to grow our foreign reserves to $40.9 billion at the end of 2024. So if you are able to achieve exchange rate parity, it used to be 60% in terms of the gap between the markets. Now it is just down to 3%. That is significant. Like many Nigerians will not admit it. To them, the man has not achieved anything. And I see people who went to school. I see them on Facebook. Say, the administration has not achieved anything. But here is IMF saying that we have made progress in some areas. It is not saying that all is Uhuru. That's why I started from the things that they told us to improve upon. So it's significant that the IMF can talk about some of this progress that we have made. And the government has a duty to also push that into the faces of Nigerians. That is an area where they need to improve in terms of communication, communicating its policies and coordination. And the IMF also recognize that we don't communicate enough.
Yeah. All right, I guess they need to improve on that. But these economic reforms, by the president, how beneficial is it to the ordinary Nigerians? Are Nigerians feeling it? Or should they be patient a little?
Well, I think there are two factors. Number one, for a new policy to be effective to the extent that it will benefit the ordinary Nigerians, it will take time. This government has taken 2 years building structures, building a new economic structure. Because the problem is that the government has been resetting our economic sense, our mind, to the reality of the Nigerian economy. I always tell people that the value of the Naira today, irrespective of whether you say they have thrown it out, is probably the real value of Nigeria as it is, different from when we are borrowing money to shore up the value of the Naira. To
defend the dollar.
Borrowed 400 billion Naira to defend the Naira, which has no productive capacity. We are not increasing our GDP, and yet we are printing money by the central bank. Number two is the fact that IMF spoke about infrastructure. If state governments, I keep on saying state governments and local government, because we have 3 tiers of government in Nigeria. If they are spending the money they are getting from the federation account every month on infrastructure, education, health, and agric, I think it will improve. It will not get to the local, the macro level, where the people will feel the impact. But in a case whereby farmers will plant agricultural products, there's no road for them to take it to the market. It will get rotten, and the price of agricultural products, that is the essence, the living of the people, will continue skyrocketing. So you will not be able to draw a comparison between what IMF is saying and the reality on the price of cassava, on tomato. So let state governments, because that's what I keep on saying, let them begin to use the money to build infrastructure. As far as I'm concerned, it is not sensible to keep on saying everything is federal road, federal road. When the road will pass through in front of your house, and you say it is somebody in Abuja, let state governors begin to build infrastructure. Let them begin to build schools. Let them begin to provide drugs in hospitals that the people who assess. There's no federal hospital. What we have is the hospital you have in your village. It is for your village. It is not for the man in Abuja. So I believe that for us to get the mandate that the IMF has said, let state governors begin to build roads. Now, we only know that the federal government has been building roads all over Nigeria, except somebody wants to lie. All over Nigeria, 256 roads in the last 2 years. It's not easy. So let state governments begin to build roads. Let them begin to empower farmers to farm.
To join in the fight.
Begin to put drugs in hospitals, so that children below 18 years old can access drug free of charge.
I mean, it will be very, very unfair to say that this administration has not done anything. I mean, the IMF is pointing out that they are commending the administration, but are Nigerians feeling it?
That is the biggest, challenge that we have.
Mikio talked about communication.
Yes, and I know when we talk about IMF, Nigerians don't like hearing IMF, because they feel that all the problems that we have is from IMF. But look at IMF now, just like BQ just broke down. IMF said, we are making gains, but you still need to do some things right. It's just 2 years of this administration. Oh, the policies that you put in place, they are ticking the right boxes. But you need to do X, Y, Z. And the major thing that IMF said, because I noted it down, it says, IMF acknowledge that these, that for Nigerians, they are yet to benefit.
They benefit to get to
these gains.
People.
They acknowledge that we are yet to benefit. And why? Because our people too, the people around the president, they are not communicating. And not just that, it will take time. There are reforms. Food security, for instance. How do we achieve food security? Is by giving the farmers, making sure that they are secured. And even if the farmers, they finish during the harvest, they will need good roads to move their produce to the consumers. So these are this, even boosting of electricity supply. These are things that IMF is just telling this government. We cannot on this table, because anytime we talk on this table, they say, it's APC people. It's APC, yes, they are talking. And that is why we keep saying that the people that they have been paid to talk for the president, they must find time to talk to Nigerian people.
But why are they not talking?
They are not talking because...
why are they not talking?
You know, IMF didn't, they didn't say that, they didn't just, they said, because BKO mentioned some of them, like improve health and education spending. Vital. And I know that this government, including the First Lady, she's always hammering on education. If you look at her program, is education and health. So they need to spend more.
Sustainable development programs.
They need to spend more on health and education. Vital. Because once you take a child out and train the child and let the child be able to write and read and understand, it will keep the child out of going to carry gun. You understand? That is as simple as that.
Absolutely.
And so please, as we are saying this, IMF have commended this government, but they have also given the areas this government will need to improve on. And that is what Nigerians want to see. Because these things that the government are doing, the student loan, everything that they are doing, anything that they are doing at all, Nigerians will keep saying, you know, concern me, you know, concern. No! The president's spokesmen have to come out and begin to talk so that people will know that this government is working.
In rounding of this
because myself and BKO and every other journalist we will not be doing that. The only thing we do is just to tell this is our own opinion. This is what people are saying. But the true facts will come from government spokespersons.
BKO, just in rounding of this conversation, why are they not talking? The people who are supposed to communicate these policies to the people, why are they not talking? Just in 1 minute to round up this conversation.
Yeah, the biggest culprits in this regard are the ministers. I don't know why some of the ministers are even being kept. If you are reluctant to come out and talk about the achievements of your ministry, then something is wrong with you. The president ordered them to do interministerial briefing. I think it was just a few months ago that they started. Some ministers believe that they are too big to talk to the press. The only time that they will need us is when they are in trouble. They want to do damage control. I've never seen a crop of ministers reluctant to talk about their achievements like the ministers that President Tinubu has working with him. It's just a few of them. It's just a few of them who feel like talking. So I don't know what the problem is. If you do not feel proud that you work for a president, why don't you just get out of the system?
Just resign.
You should feel proud and be able to verbalize your achievements. If you are not prepared to do that, then you are not worthy of the job.
Exactly.
All right.
Is the minister, I don't even blame some of the spokespersons. We see them, they do their best, they move from place to place. Even Daniel Bwala, who just joined them, you see him moving from place to place. And even Reno or Mokri, who has not joined them.
Who has not joined them. But if you see him online,
he's even doing a much better job.
All right,
maybe they should just officially make him this president, one of the president's spokesman, media people, so that we will know. Because he's not been given a role, but we see how he's aggressively defending the president.
So all right, gentlemen.
That's what some ministers ought to be doing that they are not doing.
Gentlemen, beautiful conversation, beautiful conversation. Tunde Abaton, thank you so much for doing this with us. Appreciate you.
We have over 36 ministers, 42 ministers in Nigeria.
Yes.
Only 5 of 6 of them come on. Let the rest
If,
come
if
out.
they don't
They should
believe,
talk.
if they don't believe in the government, let them
Then leave.
Let them
Exactly.
leave.
Asukwa James,
Thank you
appreciate
so-
you. Thank you so much. BKO, so good to hear from you.
Yeah.
So good for you to join us, right from Kaduna via Zoom. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. Yes, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.